André Shepherd is a U.S. soldier who's applied for asylum in Germany. Shepherd had served in the Iraq War and was based in Germany when he went absent without leave, or AWOL, almost 2 years ago. His case is the first to test German and international laws that could grant asylum to deserters. His tour of duty lasted 6 months. That was time enough for him to develop a strong objection to the Iraq War.
When I first got to Iraq, I thought that my work was only to help promote freedom and prosperity for the Iraqi people. However, as time went on, I found out that my work had an indirect hand on the widespread misery and destruction being foisted upon the Iraqi people. So that made me feel, in words I really can't describe, just horrible.
Shepherd had viewed joining the U.S. Army as a positive career move. In Iraq, he served as an Apache helicopter mechanic, working to keep the heavily armed machines in the air. But once he was stationed in Germany, the 31-year-old began researching the missions in which Apache helicopters were used and their effects on the local population.
The Apache's weapon systems, particularly the Hellfire missile and the 30-millimeter machine gun, cannot distinguish between civilians and enemy combatants, and they were used within densely populated cities such as Fallujah and Samarra. The devastating impact of these weapons have caused numerous horrific injuries, and many lives have been lost.
Due to head back to Iraq, Shepherd went absent without leave, living underground in Germany for 19 months. He was reluctant to turn himself in to the U.S. military police and face prison. Now he lives in this asylum home and survives on 40 euros a month. Other refugees come and go, but Shepherd says anything is better than his time in hiding.
Now I feel a little bit more secure, but there's still the big question mark as to what will happen in the future. But at least now I don't have to look over my shoulder every day.
Without support from German friends, Shepherd would never have been able to remain underground so long. He still relies on peace activists like Ulrich Thiel for help, with day-to-day issues and with his application for asylum.
What's special about this case is he's not a conscientious objector to all war in any form. He left the army because the war to which he was about to be sent and in which he had already served violates international law.
The U.S. Army barracks in Katterbach is a base for many U.S. soldiers before deployment in Iraq. André Shepherd was stationed here too. No one is willing to discuss the case on camera. But on internet sites, soldiers accuse Shepherd of being unpatriotic. Others say he should have known what being a professional soldier could entail. But Shepherd believes he has a chance and hopes a previous case in Germany will help his cause. In 2003, German soldier Florian Pfaff was demoted after refusing to work on a computer program he feared could be used in the Iraq War. A German court reversed that demotion on the grounds that legal reservations against the war did actually exist. Some politicians beg to differ and say that each case needs to be studied separately.
Each case will have to be studied individually to decide whether it qualifies as political persecution or not. Of course, that leads to the question whether the war in Iraq violates international law or not. According to the German government, it does not.
But André Shepherd is convinced he made the right decision, even though former friends and even members of his family have called him a traitor. The German authorities have since questioned him about his case in detail. They're due to make their decision in 2 weeks' time. If his application is denied, his future looks bleak.
Then I would have to be forced to go back to U.S. military control, where I would face a court-martial and possibly spend a considerable amount of time in prison. But even after all of that, I would have the stigma of being a criminal just for doing the right thing. And that would inhibit me from many things, including getting a decent job, credit, being able to vote even in America, because this is attached to a felony conviction for being a deserter.
So although Germany never deployed troops during the Iraq War, Shepherd's application, whatever its outcome, shows Berlin is unable to distance itself entirely from the conflict.